Well, we're now more than 100 days into the war in Ukraine, and the brutal conflict's in danger of entering a torturous and protracted stalemate. The UK is now warning the conflict could last as long as a decade. So, a pause for thought. Take a look at these 5 pictures and ask yourself what links them. Afghanistan, Yemen, Libya, Iraq, Syria. All devastating wars which cost thousands of lives, sparked humanitarian disasters, and all too briefly commanded the entire planet's attention. And then we moved on. So is Ukraine now in danger? It'll be the next that we simply move on from. It's what happens, isn't it? News moves on, politicians move on, government priorities change as voters fume about problems closer to home, especially with surging inflation. But there's no end in sight for the Ukrainians. The misery only continues. Vladimir Putin's forces now occupy 20% of the country, and up to 100 Ukrainians are dying every single day. And today, the chilling news that 2 British men and 1 Moroccan national have been sentenced to death by pro-Russian officials. They were captured fighting with the Ukrainian army in Mariupol. So how do we end all this carnage, this genocide? How do we make sure the world doesn't give up on Ukraine, which is exactly what Vladimir Putin wants us to do? Well, I'm joined now by the Ukrainian Ambassador to the UK, Vadym Prystaiko. Welcome, Ambassador. It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
I get this awful feeling that the news agenda, which was so Ukraine-dominated, is beginning to move on a bit. You know, people have their own crises at home and so on. And the hell for Ukraine continues. What is your feeling about that? What more can we do to keep Ukraine in people's minds?
Frankly speaking, I'm quite blessed here in this particular capital, in this particular nation, that this process is not that obvious. But I agree with you. That's nature, human nature, news nature, government's nature to move on and other things, because unfortunately, where there are so many of them, so many tragedies unfolding all over the globe. But we're trying to keep up this, news about Ukraine or knowledge about Ukraine open for everybody here. And I have very receptive audience here.
There are many ways that this war can end. Some are not too bad for Ukraine, notwithstanding what's already happened. Some would be horrendous. What is the worst case scenario as far as you're concerned?
Worst is what Putin wants. He wants to reinstate whatever government he wants in Kyiv. He wanted to get all over this territory. He wants to get us back to the stables of post-Soviet republics. Some of them he already has in his stables. Now he is the biggest prize probably out of all the post-Soviet republics, Ukraine.
President Zelensky, who appointed you to your position only 2 years ago, must seem a very long time ago now that you were appointed, like I guess every ambassador. But when he was asked about Boris Johnson recently, he was extremely praiseworthy of both the Prime Minister, who's on a lot of domestic problems, obviously, but very praiseworthy of him and of the government here in the support that we have given to Ukraine. Who have been, along with the UK, the best allies you've had, and who needs to do more?
We have natural allies like, for example, Poland, who understand us so closely, who've been through so many things with Russians over the history. We have our Baltic republics, all of 3 of them who used to be in the same camp of Soviet Union, and they don't have to tell them anything. They know everything and they know the price. We have the Eastern Europeans who are next to our border. They're supporting us because they remember all this, times when the Soviet Union was coming with the hard hand, reversing what sort of revolutions they had over the years and years. So these people naturalize, the people understand. Obviously, United States, Canada, which is very close to all Ukrainian hearts. There are a couple of nations around the globe.
Is Putin the new Hitler, as far as you're concerned?
Personally, I believe that he is the closest one we can attribute to Hitler right now in this particular era.
And if he prevails in Ukraine, do you have any doubt that he will then try and expand and invade other countries and try and, as he sees it, restore the glory of the Soviet Union?
Totally. If you feed the shark with hamburger, it doesn't mean they will have to have hamburger each and every time. Next time they will need, cow or something bigger. And Ukraine, in comparison to what he had, Transnistria is Moldova, some places in Georgia, Azerbaijan and in Armenia. Now he is coming for bigger and bigger price. And if he has Ukraine, the biggest by territory in Europe, that's a huge nation, 40+ million people. If he has it, what will stop him for the next move in Europe? You think NATO? Well, they have to think.
You must have a lot of family and friends back in Ukraine. It must be a permanent worry for you. How do you deal with that, being here in the UK when all this is happening back home?
I managed to get my nephews here. because their parents, my brother and his wife, they're back in Ukraine. The police officer, she's working there, has to be there. So we take care of the kids. I have my mom-in-law here. So we managed with the kindness being offered to us to bring them here, to allow them some safety.
Are we doing enough in this country to bring enough Ukrainians in fast enough?
You're doing much, but there is always not enough when you have people waiting on the bombardment for months for the visa to appear magically in your mailbox. So this is very painful, but we're working with your government, trying to resolve this.
When we came on air, 2 Britons and a Moroccan man captured by Russian forces in Ukraine have been sentenced to death. What is your reaction to that?
I had to react today because I was meeting with the family of one of them. I actually met with all of them.
Right.
There's 2 of them were mentioned today. And we are trying to find an answer how these people can be so brave, so patient at the end of the day, so courageous to face this tragedy. These women were trying to, each and every day they would receive the telephone call or video message from them in the captivity, in these so-called courts. This is very difficult tragedy, the people's tragedy, but we have now almost 4,000 people of our, and we consider your people, your nationals, as parts of our armed forces. They're treated the same way. They've been used for the exchange the same way. They were trying to get them out of there.
Finally, Ambassador, President Zelensky will speak at the Cambridge Union tomorrow, and I believe other universities. Just quickly tell me about that.
Yeah, this big gathering, we have the Ukrainian Students Association, which are in all of these universities. Most of those were very well known everywhere around the globe, not just here. So he will talk to the younger generation, not just Brits and Ukrainians, everybody who is studied there. And we hope that he will be able to tell the new generation why this war is relevant, why this war between new age and very old post-Soviet society as Russia is now.
Please tell President Zelensky we're huge admirers of his in this country. Not that he doesn't hear that from everyone, but I think he's a remarkable man doing a remarkable job, and we're all right behind you. Ambassador, thank you very much indeed for coming in.
Thank you.